Hello, 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 everybody. How are you? How are you? This is Kenneth Overton, your host of Black Opera Live, which is produced and supported by Black Opera Productions LLC, which is the company that is currently in production for the upcoming film documentary Black Opera, which we hope to bring to you in its fullness and in its beauty by the end of this year. COVID go away so that we can get back to work. I am so excited to be here. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot going on. My incredible panelists and the important discussion that we are about to have. But first, I wanted to tell you some things going on within the Black opera world. All of those of you who podcast, we are now a podcast. So all of the interviews that I have done in the past are now being converted to podcasts. So wherever you get your podcast information and entertainment, you can go there and sign up and be a follower of Black Opera Live for your podcast needs. And our first two episodes are up, the one with John Holliday and the one with the illustrious Denyce Graves, who just happens to be on the panel again tonight. I am so excited. And in addition, Black Opera now has its own Spotify page. So all of you who are on Spotify, go click like and follow on Black Opera Productions Spotify page, where we have recordings upon recordings that feature the brilliance of Black opera singers in opera, in oratorio, and spirituals, art songs. So many musical offerings. And if you don't see anything that you think should be there, please send us a note at blackoperafilm.com and let us know, and we will get it up on the page. I am so excited about the podcast and the Spotify page. There's so much going on in our world, particularly because this is Women's History Month. And there are a few events happening that I want to tell you all about because I think they're incredible. The first is by my dear friend and colleague, Kathy Bullock. Kathy Bullock, and I'm going to put her website there on the ticker tape for you to follow. She is producing a concert this week called Heart Prints, and it's Black women celebrating Black women, a virtual women's history event, which will be this Thursday, March 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. For more info, go to kathybullock.com/heartprints. It's a free event, although donations will be encouraged. And it's a program of Black female composers and their music being performed by Black women as well. And so Kathy Bullock and Dr. Christine Jobson, Makita Hampton, Rayanne Bryce Davis, or just some of the fantastic names that will be performing incredible music by brilliant Black women. So go mark your calendars and support. Kathy Bullock is a marvelous woman, a marvelous musician herself. I've gotten a chance to perform with her when we're on tour with the American Spiritual Ensemble, and she's just so innovative, and she's a composer herself and a lovely singer as well. So I'm sure some of her music will be performed. So you want to check that out. Thursday, March 25th at 7 p.m. kathybullock.com/heartprint. So check that out. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you about, my dear friend, Dr. Lori Celeste Hicks, has put together a Black Women's Composers Summit for this entire weekend. So from March 26th through the 28th, there will be tons of events going on. And you can go to this website here, blackwomencomposers.com, for all of the information. There's going to be the lovely Drs. Zenaida Robles, Dr. Kathy Bullock will also be participating in that. Composer Jasmine Barnes, composer B.E. Boykin, composer Gail Jones Murphy, and all hosted by Dr. Lori Celeste Hicks. Dr. Evelyn Simpson Currington will be there. So you're going to learn about these incredible women and what they're doing, what they're writing, and the importance of programming their music and sharing their music on your own platforms and making sure that we support them whenever possible. Because when we support Black women, we support our community, and we make our community stronger by doing so. So make sure you go to blackwomencomposers.com and check out the event for this weekend, March 26th through the 28th. Now, I'm going to be a part of a little bit of Women's History Month myself. On this Friday, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. And there's the information there. San Francisco Opera, one of my most favorite places to sing in the world. They're always so great to me there. They asked me to interview the one and only Grace Bumbry. Now, I am so excited about this. I have done a little pre-interview with Miss Bumbry for the film Black Opera, but this time we're talking to her about her groundbreaking, glass ceiling shattering performances as being the first Black person, not just Black woman, but Black person to sing at Bayreuth. And she did it when she was only 24 years old, the first Black person to sing in the house that Wagner built. And she was an absolute sensation. And all month long, San Francisco Opera has been doing a ring cycle celebration. And they've asked me to interview Miss Bumbry and talk about her entire entry into the Wagnerian repertoire and conquering Bayreuth when she was just a mere 24 years old. So tune in, go to San Francisco Opera's website, and it's called Breaking Barriers at Bayreuth, and join me and the incredible, amazing Grace Bumbry, that is, on this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm so excited about that. So excited about that. So I want to talk to you all about my guest tonight. Tonight, these incredible, necessary visionaries on this panel are what history is made of, is what legacy is built upon. And I want to tell you just a little bit about them. Jason Oby. I want to tell you a little bit about the Houston Ebony Music Society, Houston Ebony Opera Guild. It is to provide performance and ongoing professional development opportunities for African-American choral and opera singers from Houston and the nation, to foster in broad-based audiences an appreciation of opera and concert music, including the African-American spiritual, and to sustain and expand the African-American presence in voice-associated classical music in general. The vision for Houston Ebony Opera will be internationally recognized as the following: a producer of world-class opera and concert music, a provider of both professional development opportunities for emerging artists, and enriching cultural experiences for diverse audiences. And Jason Oby is not only one of the artistic administrators of the Houston Ebony Opera Guild, but he is also a soloist and performer in his own right, having performed opera and oratory and recitals at venues throughout the United States as well as Europe and Asia. As a member of the acclaimed cast of Three Mo Tenors, he sang a wide variety of musical genres, including opera, Broadway, jazz, and Motown. His sensitivity and intelligence of interpretation as a singer of art song is evidenced by his frequent invitations to perform solo concerts at college and community concert series, and his status as a finalist in several concert and operatic singing competitions in his early career. And he has fashioned all of that. He is also a teacher, a professor, a private voice teacher, as well as helping to run Houston Ebony Opera Guild. And I am so excited that he is here. And I've also had a chance to share the stage with Jason. We did a performance of Don Giovanni at Houston Ebony Opera with the illustrious Maestro Willie Anthony Waters as the conductor. I love you, Maestro. Please continue to get better. And so I'm so happy to have Jason here. Welcome, Jason. Opera Ebony. I just have to say, Wayne Sanders and Opera Ebony and Benjamin Matthews have been such an important part of my life as a singer, as a young singer. When I first moved to New York, they wrapped their arms around me in support. They gave me lessons and coachings and exposed me to incredible repertoire and taught me how to sing spirituals the right way. I would not have the love and expertise in singing the genre of America's first music if it were not for those two gentlemen. Opera Ebony is an African-American opera company which has performed Mozart in Harlem to African-American heritage concerts in Iceland, Gershwin in Moscow to Duke Ellington in the Caribbean. Benjamin Matthews, sister in Elise Sisson, and Wayne Sanders founded Opera Ebony in 1973. It has served as a professional platform for thousands of American artists, administrators, and technical staff, helping them to refine their talent and perfect their operatic craft. In New York City, Opera Ebony has performed at Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the World Trade Center, the Beacon Theater, Langston Hughes Theater, the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, and the Manhattan Center. Additionally, for 10 years, the company presented grand opera at Philadelphia's Academy of Music. Since 1988, Opera Ebony's repertoire has performed in Brazil, Russia, Estonia, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, Canada, Switzerland, and Martinique. The company has also partnered with several major international orchestras, opera companies, and music festivals, including the Iceland Symphony Orchestra, the Finnish National Opera, the Estonia Philharmonic, and the Savonlinna Music Festival. In 1998, Opera Ebony was selected as the only American opera company to perform for the opening of the Novaya Opera House in Moscow, Russia. During the winter of 2000, members of Opera Ebony appeared in performance and engaging conversation on the PBS Great Performance series, Aida's Brothers and Sisters, Black Voices in Opera. For Black History Month in 2001, the company joined with the Metropolitan Museum of Art to present the premiere workshop performance of Harriet Tubman, a new opera musical theater work by acclaimed American composer Leo Edwards. I am so honored to have played even a small part in the history of this groundbreaking and necessary company. And I'm so glad that Wayne Sanders is here to share this evening with us. Now, you all know the one and only legendary opera diva, Denyce Graves. We all know the breadth of repertoire and what she has done to conquer the stage, the concert stage, the opera stage, and singing for dignitaries and presidents and Supreme Court justices. And now she has a cooking show, but she has also just started the Denyce Graves Foundation. And the mission of the Denyce Graves Foundation is to break down barriers to success for exceptionally talented singers of all backgrounds, thus empowering them to reach their full potential. We want the rich tapestry that is America to be fully represented by its working artists. Her vision statement, the vision statement of the Denyce Graves Foundation, is to create a more inclusive artistic environment in our nation, creating a lasting positive cultural impact on the world of American vocal arts. The foundation values inclusiveness, diversity, fairness, respect, passion, and excellence in the arts. And because singers of color have historically been underrepresented in the classical music world, the foundation seeks to address this imbalance by making sure they are well represented among the diverse recipients of the foundation's programs and aid. Ways in which the foundation intends to serve its beneficiaries are facilitating access to high-level training for exceptionally talented singers and guiding and aiding the careers of gifted young artists through targeted mentoring, financial assistance, targeted networking, and facilitating ways for these singers to be seen, heard, and employed. Thank you so much, Denyce, and I'm so glad that you are here. And my last panelist is the only one that I have just met tonight. Miss Jonnet Soloman was born in Guyana, South America, to hard-working parents. The family immigrated to America to expand their steel pan manufacturing company, where Miss Soloman was hired as the accountant at a very young age. Educated in public schools and an avid volunteer, Miss Soloman earned both volunteer and accounting scholarships to attend Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, where she earned a bachelor's degree in accounting. Upon graduation, Ms. Soloman started JSA LLC, an independent accounting firm that specializes in bookkeeping, accounting, consulting, and tax preparation. JSA LLC has successfully launched over 3,000 businesses spanning all major industries. JSA LLC uses innovative finance strategies and strategic tax planning to help clients launch, grow, and build their business and generational wealth. And for those of you who do not know, Ms. Soloman, just over 20 years ago, purchased the property that is the National Negro Opera House. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome to the Black Opera Live panel Jason Oby, Wayne Sanders, Denyce Graves, and Jonnet Soloman. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's so great to have you all here. I am so excited, and this is such a vital conversation that we're going to have tonight. And so I would like to start with you, Jason. If you would tell us a little bit about Houston Ebony Opera Guild, how it got started, and what it does for not only the Houston community, but the community at large. You can unmute yourself.
Good idea, that unmuting thing, right? Well, the company was started by a gentleman by the name of Robert A. Henry. And Dr. Henry finished his career at Prairie View A&M University. He too, with Mr. Sanders' company, had an association with Sister Elise from Xavier University, which is where she founded the opera program there. Dr. Henry had taught at several universities over the course of his career, and he got that opera bug and came to Houston with his studio here at Prairie View A&M, and was so taken by the number of really great, talented students that he had there that he wanted to provide a more fervent opportunity for them to have performance opportunities. So it started with somewhat casual opportunities in the 80s, and the company was incorporated in 1992. And since then, they have had regular ongoing season of concert performances. So that's the start. The name is called the Houston Ebony Opera Guild, but in fact, we produce choral works, oratorio, art song, to be true to our objective of spreading classical music, particularly to give opportunities to African Americans and also African American composers, African American conductors, and so forth. So the mission is much broader than the name of the organization suggests.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, Wayne, will you tell us about how Opera Ebony got started and what part you played in all of that to build this for over 30 years now?
The reason I'm laughing, because it got started and I wasn't expecting to get involved or anything started like that. I was just out of school to New York, and there was a meeting with Sister Elise. At that time, Benjamin Matthews, Margaret Harris, a wonderful composer and pianist and conductor, and myself. And Sister Elise, a nun from the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, looked at Ben and said, "You know, it's time that you start. And you're the one to start to do it." And Ben said, "Huh?" She said, "You're supposed to start a company." And he just looked at her. You'd have to see the expression. He just looked at her and she said, "And you have to name it." And I was quiet to all this because I didn't know anything about this. And he said, I'm taking longer than he took, about maybe 3 or 4 seconds. He said, "Ebony."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Okay, Opera Ebony." Then she said, when we start off, we'll call it National Opera Ebony, which we did at first, but we didn't keep it. Yeah. And she looked and she said, "We've got to find a music director." And I said, sister, guess what? Even though I'm new to New York, I said, I seem to have a interesting way with people and things. I said, I will find you one. And then she said, looked at me and said, no, I don't think you have to do it. I said, why, sister? I said, I'm not gonna, why? She said, because you're the music director. And I literally almost fell on the floor. I said, sister, what? What do I do? What does I said, this is, she said, don't worry about it. You already do it. Now let us pray. Started praying up in this Ansonia condominium up here. And it took us all by surprise, but nothing is by surprise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all, and that literally, and sister was also housed, I think, with the sisters in Philadelphia. That's how we started doing New York and Philadelphia.
Yes.
And the first production we did was Aida. And Everett Lee conducted for us. He lives in some part of Germany now. I forgot the exact part. But we did Aida, and he said, well, no, that's the wrong. You can't be doing no Aida and da 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 da. And I said, no, that's what we're going to do. And we did, and it seemed to start everything. The audience and the people, I said to myself, now is Patti LaBelle up in here, or who's up here? But they were very responsive, it became very emotional.
Yes.
You know, and to be a witness to that, you see things happen when they're supposed to happen for all of us. Absolutely. That are here. And we bring to it what we feel will help us reach more people, and yeah. So that we did, and when we did Aida, I started getting calls. I looked at Ben and said, we don't have no manager. What people calling us for, you know? And got calls from Iceland, from Finland, from 4 or 5 places, asking for different projects for us. And that's what we did. And we started, and 5 times we went to Moscow with their orchestra, with different orchestras in different cities. It was exciting. Who would ever think? I was born in, how can I say it now? I'm gonna keep it simple now. I was born in the projects of Ida B. Wells in Chicago, Illinois. I had no idea. I was always nosy and you know, and about things. But we don't know where we're going to be led. All of us here, we do not know. I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea. And it took us to these places, and people responded. I remember when we did a work by Lena McLin. Lena McLin is still with us in Chicago, a Black composer there, and fabulous composer. And we were asked to come to Carnegie Hall. And I said, Lena, can you write something for us? She said, yeah, I can write something for. And she said, I'm going to write, what did she call it? She called it Free at Last. I said, what about if we call it Old Freedom? She said, you can call it whatever you want to do. If you're gonna do my music. She said, okay, what you call it? And we did a program there with the symphony orchestra there at Carnegie. And it was during one of the worst snowstorms that we've had here in New York. And about 5 minutes before the curtain went up, guess who ran down the aisle? Lena McLin. It touched me. I mean, when things touch me, I start crying. I can't help it, you know. Yeah. And when I saw her there, and Joyce Simpson, who's now with us, she's no longer with us. She sang, and I turned. Lena made the piece for a big choral thing, and I said, "No, we can do it with. I can cut it, and we can do it with one person." And Joyce Simpson sang it, and brought those people to their feet. And I think this is what we want to reach in and bring out the gifts, our different talents. We have so many, and we share with each other, and we do them. And I'll never forget that. I said, all this snow, and still all these people came.
Yep.
Made it from Lena lived in Chicago.
She was used to that.
Yeah, she was truly used to that. In Chicago.
New York snow ain't gonna bother her.
Right. But because no, not at all. But to see and there's been so many composers that composed for us, and not necessarily for us, but we saw and heard what they did, and we start using it, and a lot of people wrote directly for us. Dorothy Rudd Moore wrote the opera Frederick Douglass for us, and all of us know how when you want something, sometimes you don't know how it's going to turn out or what it's going to do. But I asked her, I said, Lena, we just need a small little work, maybe about 50 minutes to an hour. And I said, snatch a thing out of his life and do it. Dorothy told me, after she wrote it, she said, I started reading about him. And she said it was too many people and things. Dorothy wrote an opera over 4.5 hours long.
Wow.
And I said, Dorothy, that's incredible. I mean, some really fabulous stuff there. Fabulous music there. Dorothy, at this moment, we can't use all of that. So Dorothy and I didn't speak for about a year. We didn't speak and I love Dorothy. We're good friends, but we literally did not speak because I said, no, we gotta boil this down. In other words, we had the debut of the work. It was very successful. I was very happy for her because she's a wonderful writer. She writes all kind of concert songs and everything. She just lets it pour from her.
Yeah.
And it's so. But we did that, and I even used the scene. Was it the cellar scene? I've forgotten which scene now. Time moves so fast. But with the Iceland Philharmonic, and they are first-rate orchestra. And I used a program. I put a lot of our music there, and I said, let me get a little heavy with them and use something that's rather contemporary. But I found very exciting emotionally, whatever. And that Iceland Philharmonic played their living off. They played, and the house was packed. So in other words, all of this is to say, if we have ideas, obviously we started following what we felt needed to be done. Yeah. Every last one of us. And it's enlightened me because I had no idea coming. I didn't know I was coming from the project, so I was going to be going to Russia and to Finland. And Finland had us there for 10 years running.
Wow.
Yeah. Jorma Hynninen, he was head of the Finnish opera there.
Amazing.
And, yeah. So we don't know where we're going to go or what we're going to do. I just say what's exciting, we're doing it.
Yes.
And we just keep following through and don't let anything stop us. And things will come up and try to stop us, and we can't, as we all know, you haven't let anything stop you.
Speaking of which, Denyce, talking to people not being stopped. Congratulations, Grammy winner Denyce Graves. Is this your first or your 10th? I can't remember because you just do so much and you do so much so well. Congratulations, my dear. That is so wonderful. You unmute yourself.
And to you, Kenny, congratulations.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, you know you're always welcome here. So tell us, what made you start the Denyce Graves Foundation? What was it in you that said, this is what I need to do at this time in my life and career, and this is what I want to pour back into it?
It all really stemmed from when everything went dark, basically, with COVID, because as we know, as everyone here fully appreciates, certainly Mr. Jason, Mr. Wayne, that, singers' calendars were immediately erased. And I was trying to find a way to support and encourage my students, many of whom had, just graduated or had been out for a few years already. And all of a sudden, there was no work, and it was like, what are we going to do? And so it started out by doing, these mosaic virtual choirs. And then that led into the cooking show, which was wonderful and has been wonderful. And we are still coming back next season with that. But the work that we wanted to do was deeper. It was deeper because I was saying to my singers, to my students, you are essential. You are important. And I don't want us to be in a position again where, there's nowhere to go. There's no place to turn. I really wanted to help create something that would empower singers, that would let them take charge of their own destiny and their own career, so that everybody wasn't waiting around praying for a job, but that there was something that they could take control of themselves and steer, drive their own car. And really, it went from those choirs to the cooking show, and finally to the Denyce Graves Foundation, which is something actually that we've been working on for a long while. But COVID just sort of pushed us in that direction, and we saw a need for that. But really, it came as a way that I really wanted to help my students, and I really wanted to give singers a way to be empowered and to not feel so desperate, to not feel like, to not feel that they have to buy into the idea of the starving artists. Actually with my students, at Peabody, and I made everyone take the Rich Dad, Poor Dad courses, and I made people learn how to do some investing and that sort of thing, because this career, as we know, this career path is arduous. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's fantastic, but sometimes, there's a long time between engagements, and then what do you do? Right? Sometimes you can have one engagement in January, and then, particularly for sopranos, or this is a field that is very narrow, it's crowded. And I wanted to do more than just, we were doing the voice lessons, but I thought, what are we preparing them for, though? Mm-hmm. What happens when they learn how to sing beautifully? Then what? Where do they go after this? And I just really wanted to be a part of a solution that would help really empower singers. And so the Denyce Graves Foundation was then born. And, we basically believe that everybody's individual talent is sacred. Yes. And respond to that by nurturing it, by developing it, and by sharing those talents. But we also have to be able to take care of ourselves. We have to be able to survive. I saw that what was happening with some of the students that were coming into my studios, they were paying these exorbitant costs for school, and then they would leave in debt. And then don't try to do a summer program, because that's $10,000, right? If you're going to do the audition season, that's several $1,000s. You got to get to New York. You got to get an accompanist, you got to rent a hall, you got to rent an audio engineer, and all of these things that it's very, very, very expensive career path. And I just wanted to help that. I didn't want to just sit there and say, oh, well, my job is to just, help you learn about your instrument. But I was concerned about what we were sending them out into. And, you know how it is when you're working with anybody. You know that from working on engagement. Certainly Mr. Wayne knows that you fall in love with people, and I fell in love with these students. I fell in love, and I wanted to see them pass my relationship with them. And as everybody here on the panel knows, that I knew early on that it was more than just voice lessons. It was really about life lessons, right? It was really about the relationship and particularly with the voice, which is such a strange conundrum. You can't see it, right? You can't touch it. And so you really get to work with that individual. And I was concerned about what happened with them when they left my studio. What happened next? What happens when they go out into the world? Where are they going to go? How are they going to make a living for themselves, right? And this is what became important to me. And a lot of times people have to do all kinds of things to, you know, to just try to survive, but they were leaving with so much debt, you know, from their secondary education, that I just wanted to address that. And so that's some of the things that we're doing with the Denyce Graves Foundation, having a program that we're calling Transitions, that goes from even from arts to admin, because things happen. Sometimes people get sick. Sometimes your family gets sick. Sometimes something happens to you. Sometimes you decide after doing it that that's not exactly really what you want to do. You know, that you enjoy singing, or you want to be in, you know, the process of making music, but you don't have to do that. I maybe told this story the last time that I was here, but I was working with a very, very wonderful and well-known singer. And we know that there are several, for example, in the Metropolitan Opera Chorus and in choruses all over the world. Unfortunately, now we're in the situation that we're in, and everybody's sort of in this holding pattern. But one of the things that was happening is that I ran into some friends that I worked with as soloists, and they said, you know what, I got out there as a soloist, and I just decided that that lifestyle was not one that I wanted to live. It turns out I don't like living out of a suitcase. It turns out that I want to have a dog. It turns out that I want to have a boyfriend. It turns out that I want to have a life, and I don't want to, you know, be away from my family and all of those things. And you cannot know that until you actually experience it. That's not something that you can know until you're doing it. And so I just didn't want to sit on that piano bench and shake my head and send my sweet little babies and these magnificent talents out there into this world where they didn't know where to turn, and they didn't know where to go or what the next step was. And everybody wasn't going to make it into a young artist program. There are only a couple of them. You know, where was everybody else going to go? That was great and wonderful and had something to offer and had something to say and had a unique story and made beautiful, beautiful, you know, made beautiful music, and that would just break your heart. So I really wanted to, we at the Denyce Graves Foundation, because we are a team of about 10 incredibly dedicated people. We are all singers. It is an organization by singers for singers, because we understand, and we've got singers at every stage, from the very, very, very young to those who are retired. And so we're trying to fill in and stand in that gap and be a bridge as, you know, you're leaving, you know, secondary education, if that's what you did. There's some singers who don't do that. There's some singers who are just wonderful singers. I've had a great experience with a lot of singers that didn't study at all.
Yep.
Started singing. Somebody told them they could sing, and they started taking voice lessons, and they didn't necessarily go that route. And we want to say that there isn't not one path. There are many different paths, right? And there are many different options. And so our foundation was born. And then we met Jonnet.
Fantastic. I love that story, Denyce. And thank you for, like a few people are saying here in the chat, teaching the whole human being.
That's what we're saying. You know, each one teach one, that we've gone through it. Each person that's in, you know, that's part of our foundation, you know, Anna, Kit, Ronald, you know, Simone, we've got Simone and lots of different people who all have been singers that all bring a very unique perspective. And as you know, the career changes so quickly from generation to generation. Yes. Things change so much. When one of my students came into the studio and told me that, you know, there were these several processes to a certain, you know, competition. And then once you won, you had to pay the company to sing there. I nearly fell off the piano bench. I said, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. You got to pay the application fee. You got to go through all and then once you get it, like, let's say you win, you've got to pay to perform. And that sort of thing makes me crazy. And I'm asked every summer to teach in these programs, and I will not do it. I will not do the ones that are asking singers, because it's just extortion. And, you know, how much do you have to, I think, anyway, I've got a lot of feelings about that.
I can tell. I love it. And I wish there were more people in your position who had that same passion and had that same level of honesty and are willing to speak about it. That is advocacy on the behalf of the singer that is so necessary and so underrepresented. And I thank you on behalf of all singers for doing that, because I remember those application fees, and I remember having to pay the accompanist, and I remember having to rent out the space, and then having to have a voice lesson and a coaching, and then taking a taxi cab to get there, or a plane or a train. And it's just a lot. And then some places don't even grant you the right to sing after you've paid all of this with no reimbursement. And it, like you said, it is absolutely criminal. But when I first moved to New York, had the good faith of having somebody like Wayne Sanders and Opera Ebony, who never asked me for a dime.
God bless you.
Not once. I would go into their house and sing and coach and work, and they said, "Don't you reach in your pocket. Don't you reach in your pocket." And that's what we're missing in today's world. And that's what I think Black opera companies specifically do really, really well. It's very similar to an HBCU, where these places were created because Black singers were kept out. And so we created this place to insulate and have safe space for growth and education and nurturing. And that is what I had at Opera Ebony. And it's also when Maestro Waters brought me to Houston, I had never sung Leporello before. It's a huge part. But he took me under his wing and taught it to me note by note by note by note by note, recit by recit, aria by aria. And then to have the experience to do it there with him in Houston was amazing, because I knew he had my back. I knew that I was safe. So, Jonnet, my dear, would you tell us how you, first of all, became interested in opera, and what possessed you to purchase the home that is the National Negro Opera House in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Well, first, thanks for having me on the show today. So it was a possession. What possessed me to buy the house really was just God telling me to do it. And I said, okay, really. The house sat empty since Mary Caldwell Dawson passed away. No one knew that the house existed. People did not know about Mary Caldwell Dawson. They did not know that the National Negro Opera Company was started here in Pittsburgh. They didn't know the work that she did and the very, very hard work she did to give African Americans access to a main stage here in Pittsburgh and nationally. So when I saw the house empty, the first thing was to restore the house, because I didn't know about it. The people I asked didn't know about it, and no one can tell me the history of the house or the history of the National Negro Opera Company. So the first step was to raise the money needed to preserve the house, and the goal was to start classes in the house to again finish Mary Caldwell Dawson's dream. Of course, that was 20 years ago. So I didn't know gathering all of the history, which is now at the Library of Congress, would take so much time. But again, God stepped in and introduced me to Denyce and Denyce Graves Foundation. And the word is actually really getting out now better than ever. I personally have been screaming, everywhere that I could about the Opera House. We do have a Emmy Award winning documentary about it, but it just wasn't enough. But now is the right time to really educate people about the National Negro Opera Company and Mary Caldwell Dawson and the hard work she did to provide access to singers to a main stage.
That is incredible. And you are a huge part of women's history for picking up or taking the baton that was left by Mary Caldwell Dawson and saying, hey, this is necessary. We have to do this. And how marvelous is it to see a Black woman take that baton and run with it? It is incredible and it is admirable. And I salute you. And anything that I can do, you call me and we're going to get this done. We're going to get this done. So, Jason, will you tell us about what Houston Ebony Opera Guild is doing now? How are you guys navigating this COVID time? what are your artists doing? What are some of the things that you have going on, or things that were maybe put on the back burner because of this hideous virus? And what do you look to resurrect in the coming future?
Yeah. Well, first, before I say anything more, I just have to bow to Wayne Sanders and also to Ms. Graves, who has such a passion for what you're doing, and someone at your level does not have to be so invested in this. And I just think it's just fantastic. As I heard you talk, I was almost brought to tears to listen to the passion to which you spoke. Me as an HBCU professor here for 25 years and working with these students, and myself, like Kenneth, having gone through living in New York and having to do a lot of things. Wayne was one of those people who helped me. Also, my dear, dear teacher, who I'm still in touch with every single Sunday morning, Adele Addison, whom I love, who was so generous to me and continues to be, and did it for me and for others as well. People like you, it's just heartwarming. And the career is different now. Also, people who are on my side of the table now as college professors and administrators now, it's a different time. And when we run across someone like the two of you who are still so passionate and giving, it is really something that needs to be saluted. And I do so here with head bowed to the both of you. So thank you so much. But what are we doing now? Corona has affected everybody, and it has affected us. We are a company that is mostly volunteer run, and many of our volunteers are not young, let's just put it that way. And therefore, the issues of technology and so forth escape a lot of them. I'm on the younger end of people that are regularly involved on the administrative side, and I'm not young. So it's challenging. Here in Houston, our marquee event, which is the African American Music Gala, which takes place at the end of every February, was postponed because not only because of Corona, but also we had a tremendous cold snap, which was unusual here in Houston, which meant that the power was out and all of the electronic things that we would normally be using to promote the program and sell tickets and all of that. Plus, it would have been our first occasion to have had a fully virtual African American Music Gala. So the challenges made it necessary for us to postpone the event. It will probably take place in June. That has not been officially announced yet, but along with the Juneteenth time period. So on the good side of that is that because it will be a virtual performance, we have had the opportunity to bring on artists that we might not otherwise be able to afford to bring. So we have the wonderful LaTanya Moore, who's going to sing. It may not be widely known, but LaTanya got her start here in Houston and at the Houston Ebony Opera Guild. She went to school here, and one of our longtime choristers was her choir teacher in high school. And so she started here with Willie Waters in an internship program. We're going to have Nicole Houston, who lives here in the Katy area, which is just outside of Houston, and who's been very helpful to me in an advisory capacity during this time, who's going to sing on the program. And also Lemmy Pulliam, who was the singer that Nicole introduced us to. In addition to our wonderful local singers, who are no schmucks, I'm going to tell you that. People who are favorites of the audiences here in Houston and who are each one wonderful in their own right, and also a couple of young singers that I wanted to highlight. So it's been an interesting time, one that we have had to kind of get our way through. I was telling Kenneth as we were having a conversation before this started, I'm seeing all the virtual things he's doing so very well. I'm going to call him and ask for a consult to be able to make some things work a little better than what we've been doing. So it's been a challenge. It's been a learning opportunity for us. The learning curve has been steep, but we're getting it together. And I'm sure that there are lots of things that we're learning during this time that will continue even after we have returned to a more normal environment, because it makes our reach wider when it's done properly. So, it's been a very interesting time. We have produced a couple of online things which we put on our YouTube channel. One is a performance of Dream Variations, which, by the way, were written from my wonderful teacher. One of them, Adele Addison, was dedicated to her, along with some others, and featuring wonderful local singers. And we've had a couple of online conversations, which have been produced and put up as well, panel discussions and so forth. So, we're looking forward to opening back up, but we're also looking forward to producing more content that will be more widely available. The issue also, like everybody has, is the constant struggle for fundraising. You were here, Kenneth, during a time that we did, the operas in Miller Outdoor Theater with full orchestra and full costumes, full sets, all of that stuff. For an organization of our size, it's challenging because it would eat up the whole budget and the whole energy, not only the budget, but the whole volunteer energy for a whole year, which made it challenging to have a full, diverse programming. And as you spoke about our mission, it's important to note that we also are, we have a choral group. It's a broad vision, not just an operatic vision. So, we could not sustain at that time to continue to produce a big, huge opera production, and with thousands of people to come and the many hundreds of thousands of dollars that it take to produce such a thing. So we're learning and we're becoming more and more nimble, and we're continuing to strive and survive and expand and produce.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm glad that you mentioned some of your Houston area artists, because I'm going to share a clip of one of those Margaret Bonds pieces by one of your Houston area artists. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this excerpt produced by Houston Ebony Opera Guild.
By the time composer Margaret Bonds wrote the song cycle, 3 Dream Portraits in 1959, she and the poet Langston Hughes had been good friends and collaborators on various artistic projects for over 20 years. For the cycle, Bonds chose 3 poems from a 1932 Hughes anthology entitled The Dream Keeper and Other Poems. All 3 poems, Minstrel Man, Dream Variations, and I Too Sing America, express in both poetic and musical settings joyous and sorrowful aspects of Black America, capturing in directness of language and music that duality of consciousness as American and as Black American that is still in 2020 such an integral part of our daily experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love me some Margaret Bonds, and I love my brother Kenneth Gale. It's so great to hear him sing, and I'm wishing Houston Ebony Opera Guild all the best. And again, please do call on me and reach out, and we'll make something happen, because you're such a vital and integral part of the fabric of music in this great country of ours. So thank you,
Well, I
Jason.
got your number now, so
Yes. Give me a call. Now, Wayne, I said I was going to embarrass you a little bit, but but in all seriousness, when I first moved to New York, I was given your number from so many people that I had met in the Bragans Festival production of Porgy and Bess.
Oh.
There were so many people who said, well, when you get there, you call Wayne. When you get there, you call Ben. When you get there, when you get there, when you get there. And I did. And I remember you and Ben just pouring into me, giving me so many amazing opportunities. I was, a part of that first production at the Metropolitan Museum of Art with Leo Edwards' performance of Harriet Tubman. And then when we toured in upstate New York and went to Harriet Tubman's home and experienced all that. But people also may or may not realize that you are an incredible arranger and composer. And
well, thank you.
Yes, indeed you are. And so much so that I named my debut CD the title of an arrangement of yours.
Really?
And that Been in the Storm So Long, that you wrote for Ben Matthews and the Negro Spiritual Scholarship Foundation in Orlando, Florida.
Right.
And so every year that foundation commissions a living composer to do a new arrangement. And you and I and Robert Sims and I can't remember who else, we were on tour doing Three Generations concerts.
Yeah.
And we did a detour from Hattiesburg, Mississippi to Orlando. And you taught me that spiritual, you and Ben. And I stepped in for him and sang that. And that spiritual moved me so much that I said, this has to be the title of my CD. And it was because of you and your magic and your kindness that allowed that to happen. And it was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art at that performance where Dr. Everett McCorvey heard me for the first time and then invited me to be a part of the American Spiritual Ensemble. So all of these things happen, and they happen because of your kindness and your generosity and your talent. Where does something like that come from? And I'm not the only person that you've done that for. You've done it for many, 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 many singers that have come through this career. Where does something like that come from?
I think it's basically everything we do in life comes from within us. Yes, we got to study, we have to work, we have to do, but the core of it is already there. The seed is already there. You can either work on it to make it better, or you work it on to make it whatever, but you work on it. But it's there, the desire, the wanting to do it, the envisioning what it is. It's like I told my piano teacher, Molly Margulies at Roosevelt University, and what I told her after I was there and did my recital, I said, Miss Margulies, I love the piano and I love that. I said, but I see something else for me. And she said, she was a tiny little 5 foot. She said, huh? What do you say? I said, I see myself not doing. I said, I'm using it, but I need to do it and add to it and do it. And I didn't realize that's why I was going to be going into opera and stuff I didn't know. But it's about that inner seed. I know I'm using funny words for things, but we have that feeling and that desire, and also that gift, whatever stage it may be in. Because it comes in many, many, many stages. That's why we have different people to help, bring it out. But I had no idea. I was going to be teaching and working with voice at Sarah Lawrence, because I had no idea, and somebody had to talk me. Chet Biscardi talked me in. He said, "You need to come down here for an interview." I said, "Oh, Chet, I don't know if I don't know." And I went down there. I've been there. I want to say how many years. It's so long. I've been this. So we don't know, but I think we're led. I think we're led. Something leads us. I don't know what it is, but it's many things. It might be a person. It might be a food. It might be something leads us to that other steps. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. It's the steps to, we don't know. If we knew, we might not have started doing a lot of the things that we're doing.
Yeah. Now, Wayne, on this clip, it has some wonderful singers that I want you to talk about after we watch, but there have been so many incredible people to come through the doors of Opera Ebony, and I'm so glad that
I'm very blessed by that.
These clips were shared. So enjoy, everybody.
Till I get home, I'm gonna live so God can use me till I get home. I'm gonna live so God can use me. This whole world may scorn and abuse me, but I'm gonna live so God can use me till I get home. Cause he brought me through every danger. Now I know he ain't no stranger, and I'm gonna tell him all of my troubles when I get home.
My Lord, my Lord, the singing and the people and the legacy that have come through your doors that you have shared with us is absolutely astounding. Astounding, Wayne. Thank you.
I've seen that many times, and every time I start into the tape, I start crying because
Yes.
it's that place where we all come from.
Yes.
That place of learning, exploring, and doing, and searching, and then you hear somebody that, please, yeah,
Yeah. Incredible.
that's something you work with it, but it's also something you were born with, and somebody found out how to work with it. But you don't teach that or Andre before her. Please, that sound, yes, they studied, but to say the least, but that's God given.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's something that's there that they worked on and spent many hours and years, and then they did, and the monies and the stuff to do it. But they did it and they followed through. And it makes me want to, it makes me get very emotional. And my friends say when I get emotional, I start to preach. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not. But it hits me in the pit for all of what we're talking about, all of us in our own different ways. We're bringing it together to let it keep thriving and living and oh, I can't. It almost stops me. It almost stops my mouth because it's just. Elder just brought me some Kleenex because I started crying. But it's about talent, a talent of many kinds, and whether it's singing, playing, violin, cello. When I saw when we did the Aida and I saw the little dancers, Arthur Hall dancers, some of them were as young as 5 years old. And the people, when those little girls, and they did the dance, and I lost it, and the people in the house lost because it reached them. They saw what we all are aiming for is to get to that core and let it happen.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stop preaching because because
the core of what you're talking about. I think we can take it all the way back to Miss Dawson. We can take it all the way back to why she felt the need to create her own company. And not only at the time being a Black person, but being a Black woman. Have mercy that she had the fortitude and the strength and the self-knowledge and worth to create and to fund this company. And then there's Opera Ebony, then there's Houston Ebony Opera Guild, then there's Harlem Opera Theater, then there's Opera Noir of New York, then there's Opera Noir out in California. There's all of these things that come up, but it all had to start from something.
Amen.
It all had to start from something. So Denyce, I'm going to let you talk about it because the way that you speak on this, I think, says it best.
Hi, everyone. I'm coming to you today to ask for your support. Your support in saving and preserving the National Opera Company, formerly known as the National Negro Opera Company. The National Negro Opera Company was formed by Mary Caldwell Dawson. Mary Caldwell Dawson was herself a singer and a pianist and a graduate of the New England Conservatory. But because African American artists were denied the opportunity to perform with opera companies, Mary Caldwell Dawson decided to form her own, and she did indeed. It was an opera company, it was a music school, and a safe house for artists to stay on their tours, artists like Lena Horne and Duke Ellington, from the years 1941 to 1962. After her death, after Mary Caldwell Dawson's death in 1962, the Victorian home, which is located in the Homewood section of Pittsburgh, fell into disrepair and was purchased in the year 2000 by Jonnet Soloman and Miriam White. And these two incredible women have tirelessly been screaming from the mountaintops from the past 20 years or so to bring awareness of this beautiful and wonderful historic site that in 1994, the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission designated it as a historic structure and was placed #1 on the endangered site list.
Thank you, Denyce. Can you and Jonnet expand upon that and tell us where you are, what we can do, what we should do, and what your dreams are for this, not only this property, but this company and Mrs. Dawson's legacy? You can unmute yourself, darling.
I think that the song that we just heard speaks to that. I'm going to let God use me till I get home. And I think that's what happened with Jonnet. I mean, I have been getting to know Jonnet over these months that we've been working towards this goal of raising awareness and raising funds for the National Opera House. But here she is, I'm just so incredibly moved by her and by her partner who's no longer with us anymore, Miriam White, and she can speak to this. But that for 21 years, I mean, she happens to walk by and she sees this place and she sees this plaque and nobody knows anything about it and she can't get any answers. But she knows that it's something amazing and something important and something valuable, right? But nobody at the time was really listening. And so she held steadfast. I mean, I'm so incredibly moved by her. She held steadfast for 21 years on her own, trying to get people to listen about this incredible treasure that's there. Mary Caldwell Dawson, and Jonnet probably can speak to her more about Mary Caldwell Dawson than I can, because her perspective is a very, very different one. But certainly as an artist, I understand that here's this woman who gave opportunity to so many other singers, to pianists, to conductors, to dancers, to chorus singers, to costumers, to designers, and also had a music school and trained some over 600 kids, one of which was Robert McFerrin, the father of Bobby McFerrin. And then in addition to that, it was this access house where not just musicians, but sport figures also stayed because, hotels were still largely segregated at that time. And she gave something. Well, she gave it to us. I mean, she laid this path, this incredible trailblazer, this incredible entrepreneur back in that time. How hard was that for her to do that on her own in that time as a woman? How difficult was that to do? Incredible. And I see it as a responsibility. I see that we have a response, like anybody who finds themselves on the stage today, I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to Mary Caldwell Dawson. Not just opera singers, but anybody who's on the stage. Because this woman created this company where people can find a home, she also performed, we've talked a little bit about this, Kenny, at the Metropolitan Opera, right? Because while the Metropolitan Opera would not, at that time, engage her as an artist, she was able to rent the theater and brought her over 500 people there to perform at the Metropolitan. She's the first woman to put an animal, like an elephant, on the stage, right? She was incredibly visionary, incredibly hardworking. And the house, thank God, was still standing. And Jonnet's been working all these many, many years. And over the years, how hard was that for Jonnet? I texted Jonnet the other day. I said, you've been working for this house for the same amount of time that Mary Caldwell Dawson ran the company, right? For 21 years, on her own. And gosh knows, I mean, I don't know what Jonnet's experience has been, but I do know that There have been many plans and ideas to get rid of it entirely, to build something else on it, to put a strip mall, or to do, low-income housing, or to do whatever, and to hold steadfast for so long. I feel that we've got to band together. We've got to join together and save this incredible treasure. People, she was a hidden figure. No one knew about her. When you look up, women, impresarios, or who was the first woman to, create an opera house, you don't see her picture there, right? It isn't there. But we are her daughters. We are her sons. I believe that we have a responsibility to her, but she gave it to us. And I want to see that we give it back to her, that we fulfill this promise, this great legacy that's not just for us, but for generations and generations and generations of artists, for young kids to come back, that they can find a place where they can create and be who they are. And just like we've seen just in these incredible clips of this spectacular talent that may not have been household names, but world-class instruments, world-class artists, That is what she gave to the world. And so I feel that, it's absolutely our duty to see to it that this historic monument get restored and return it to its full glory, and so that it can live out to be all of these things that she dreamed of it being. Jonnet can speak about some of those, because she has very definite ideas about what she would like to see happen. And Kenny, you're very, very modest, because when I called you about this, the first thing you said is, anything, just let me know what I can do. And that was not everybody's response, I will say that, So thank you so very much for what you did for banding together a lot of the African-American men singers for whom we're still working on those mosaics. You said right away, if there's anything that I can do, and we took you to task on that. We called you up on that and said, remember when you said, is there anything that I can do? We need you. And you showed up for us, and you showed up big. And I'm just so grateful to you. I'm grateful for you to do this evening, to give us this platform. I'm grateful for the work of Mr. Jason, of Mr. Wayne, who've been out there the whole time, all this time, providing that, one of the things that we are saying at the Denyce Graves Foundation is that the Soul of a Nation is its commitment to the arts, right? It's the arts that make us human beings, right? It's the arts that show us that we are more alike than unalike. That's what's at our core. That's what you feel, Mr. Wayne, when you said, for some reason, I don't know why, but I moved to tears, because it's so pure. It's right. It's a gift and for me, I see everything through a spiritual lens, but I do believe that it is a gift from God, right? And that we have an opportunity, as we're saying, to nurture that, to develop that, and to share that, and to disperse that out into the world. And so that's what we want to do. We want to be part of that. When we found out about this, I didn't know Jonnet, but we called her. The people from our foundation called her and said, we've heard about this. We want to help. What can we do? Just like you said to us, just the same way that you said to us, because I see it as absolutely our responsibility. I have a husband who is in the medical profession, and one of the things that he says is that the body has an expiration date, right? We don't know when that's going to be. So Mary Caldwell Dawson took it to a certain point, and now it's our turn to run with that torch and see this restored, and to offer this jewel and this gift, not just to Pittsburgh, but to the world. Right? This is a part of American history. I think that anybody who finds themselves on the stage, no matter who you are, man, woman, black, white, whatever, we owe this woman and all of her unbelievably tireless efforts to restore this beautiful, beautiful gift that she gave to us. Right? All of us who are singing all over the place and all these wonderful places. There's Chantal, who's been out there, one of the soldiers on the front line the whole time, singing on the steps of Mary Caldwell Dawson's home. Jonnet, who's been all by herself all this time, like screaming, and nobody was listening. All of that stuff breaks my heart. And I think that we are called, I believe, I've been incredibly fortunate in my life by the grace of God. I've been incredibly fortunate and have had a wonderful life, but I feel that this is the most important work that I will ever do here.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for that, Denyce. Thank you. Thank you. And Jonnet, please tell us, what are your hopes and dreams for this home, for this company, for this idea and gift that Miss Dawson gave to us?
Well, first, thanks, Denyce. I think that's what I've been missing for 20 years, that voice out into the community. Because as you said in the beginning in my bio, I'm an accountant by trade, introvert. I can sit all day and do wealth planning and not speak to anyone. So, having a voice like everyone here is incredible. And, having the advocates is absolutely incredible. That's what's been missing, is building an army of advocates. But our goal for the Opera House is exactly what everyone has been saying, continuing to build inspiration and motivation and having a safe space where whatever is in you, the seed that has been planted in you, has a place to flourish with the right help and the right guidance and the right support and healing of trauma that got you there and preparing you to heal from the trauma that will take you to the main stage and beyond. That's what Mary Caldwell Dawson really started. When you go to the third floor of the Opera House where she rehearsed, you can feel the energy of warmth and inspiration and motivation that would help anyone nurture their career. Even myself, I was saying at the beginning, I'm not a singer, but I love music. When I was on that third floor, I felt that I could sing something. I couldn't, but I felt that I could have. That's how much the spirit of Mary Caldwell Dawson is still living in the house and on on the third floor. So our goal is really to provide that space so that whatever seed has been planted in people can have a place to flourish.
That's incredible. So what can we do? What do you need us to do? Everybody under the sound of our voices right now, what can we do to help make that a reality?
Well, right now we need funding. To be honest, that's the key thing that we need. We have lots of support in terms of cheerleaders, and we have lots of support in terms of people that can help spread the word. But to restore a house of this size with this historical history and legacy really takes money. That's what we're missing right now.
And so how can people donate to the cause? How can they participate?
They can donate at our website, nationaloperahouse.org. And they can also send us more information, info@nationaloperahouse.org.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, Denyce, is there anything that you wanted to say to our singing colleagues out there to continue to motivate them to put their voices on this project? How can we continue to motivate?
So thank you so much for that. So people have been really amazing. People like you, Kenny, people like Simon Estes, who jumped on board right away and said, I want to do something. Tell me where to send, money. He was right on. George Shirley right away said, absolutely. I'm on. Grace Bunbury, I heard you speak about her. Martina Arroyo, Riri Grist, all these people we got in touch with and said, we need your help. We need you to lend your name to this cause to really, we've been talking to a lot of national figures about this. And so that's happening, that's coming. We're getting support from a national level, which is exactly what we need. But I always felt like, one of the things that Jonnet was telling me is that, we're certainly going to go to these foundation heads for sure. But I always thought that it should come from us too. I always thought that if everybody gave $100, or $50, we could get the fencing around the house. We could get the house stabilized, because one of the things that happened, and Jonnet could certainly speak to this, is that it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. As we raise awareness, that piques curiosity, and then people come to the house and there's vandalism and things like that that happen. And so now what needs to happen is the house needs to be protected. But I think it looks like we may be getting that. There's a wonderful woman, a friend of Jonnet, Esther Bush, who's running the National Urban League there, who's been a powerful force and has joined us on this mission, and lots of wonderful people. Pittsburgh Opera has partnered along with us, with Jonnet, and with the Denyce Graves Foundation. But I've always felt that if we just got all the singers together, I mean, I know that, with you see on Instagram, and I'm a real baby at all that stuff, but you see the Black women in opera, Black men in opera, and I just thought, we have been discovering so many artists as we've been on this path, so many people that we didn't know about. And, hundreds we've discovered, over 500 so far. And I know that there are much, much more. And I thought, my gosh, if everybody gave $100, we as a community should do this ourselves before we go to ask someone else to help us. That's been my feeling about it. I thought, come on, everybody. How important is this monument that this woman, left to the world, right? For all performers, for people everywhere. So much of Black history has been lost. Nobody even knew who Mary Caldwell Dawson was. She was this important, incredible figure. And we're just finding out now. And how many others like her? What's downstairs in the Library of Congress? What's in these museum, basements and repositories and all this stuff that we don't know about, We got in touch right away. Our foundation have been working right away. Anna Serrano, Kit Emery, Ronald Smith. We got on the phone with New England Conservatory and said, she was a student there. Give us some information about what happened there. Calling up all these opera companies and saying, we need your help. This needs to be on a national level, right? So what I think people can do is tell everybody. People can donate for sure. And if you're in a position where somebody of great influence, tell them. Tell them. I've been speaking with the New York Times that there are people who want to do stories about it. They want much more information about it. But that's what we're doing. And we have been working. So we've been getting in touch with lots of people inside of the industry. Some people have been amazing. Tim O'Leary, Washington Opera, Francesca, something happened at Cove, and, during my cooking show. Francesca was a guest, and she said, Denyce, I have an idea I would like to do. This was early on, way in the back. Sushil Bibbs, she says Living Heritage is on board. Absolutely. Sushil Bibbs has been doing this work for African-American women and African-American artists from the very beginning. And she right away said, I want to donate. I want to help. She's been sitting in on Zoom sessions with us, as have you, Kenny, about, what we can do, how we can join together and raise awareness and get people involved. We've been doing at the Denyce Graves Foundation, putting out, these mosaics, and lots of wonderful people, Julia Bullock, lots of fantastic people who joined us right away and said, absolutely, without a doubt, I want to help get out there. So I would say, spread the word, donate. If there are people that if your job does that, if they do any matching gifts or anything like that, all of that stuff is absolutely needed. We need everybody. We need everybody. We need all the hearts on this project. So
fantastic.
Jonnet might be able to, but Mr. Jason was speaking earlier. Mr. Wayne was speaking earlier about how it takes a village. It takes everybody out there, right, to make it happen. That each one teach one idea, right? So That's what we need. We need people to get involved with this, because this can be an incredible movement. I've been speaking with NBC, and they said, yeah, but how many people are involved, and who do you have of note? I said, we've got 500 African-American singers. That's noteworthy, who want to save this house. right? That's worth putting on television, right?
Yeah.
And so that sort of thing, you know, speaking to people and rattling them, you know, every day is what we've been doing. And we're planning a trip to come to Pittsburgh and to speak with people there. And people are aware of it. But how is it that this incredible, you know, treasure was right there in people's backyard and nobody knew, you know?
Yeah.
Right. So that's that's the responsibility that we have, I think.
It's huge responsibility, absolutely huge responsibility. And so, Jason, you mentioned that a lot of the people at Houston Ebony Opera Guild are there on a volunteering basis. And so they have this a clear and apparent invested nature to the company because they're giving of their time and of their talents to see that it succeeds. Where does that come from? And how did you find those people in your community? Unmute yourself, Jason.
Whoops.
Yeah. No, one more time. There you go.
I was clicking the wrong part of the screen. That's why we need you to come and help us so I can know how to mute myself when it's appropriate. Well, there's an organization called the Friends of the Houston Ebony Opera Guild. And they are mostly women. And they have been...
Isn't that something? Can we talk about that right there? The fact that there's mostly women, and Sister Elise with Opera Ebony, and then Jonnet and Denyce and Mrs. Dawson. It's interesting that it is always the women, always Black women, who are saddling up, getting their hands dirty and getting the business. And which is why when Denyce and when you invited me to the first Zoom meeting, you know, well, what are some of the ideas that you have? Because we've got all these women pitching in. I said, well, you have to get the men involved. The men cannot, absolutely should not, will not allow the women to do this alone. And the men have to get involved. It's also very similar in church, particularly in the Black church, where the women outside of the pastoral part are the engine behind the success of the Black church. It's the women. I'm sorry, Jason, but go ahead.
So that's okay. Black women busy saving the country and all of that stuff they've been doing. So that's a whole nother issue. And let me not give short shrift to the men who are on the board of directors and so forth. So there are many people who are involved, but certainly the women are the friends of the Ebony Opera Guild, and they are busy selling the tickets and doing all the volunteer work. And I have to mention, specifically lift up my friend Mary Marks Guillory, who is the chairman of the board, who she works for this Ebony Opera Guild like she's receiving a big paycheck every month for them, and she is not. So she's not getting anything at all. She's more giving not only her time, but also her money to the organization. So I have to lift her up in this conversation. But the friends are the ones who are the engine behind the organization in terms of these volunteer efforts. So that's how that happens. And they bring people in. I mean, it reminds me of the organizations that you read about of women even during the Reconstruction period who ran these organizations and these social organizations that kept culture and music going in communities and did so much for our community to keep culture alive. And, philanthropy looks a lot of different ways. Some people don't have deep pockets to write large paychecks, but maybe they have some time to volunteer and to work and to keep visions alive and keep them growing and thriving. And I would say that this is really a throwback to that era, or something that really shows you that kind of thing is still possible. So it's the friends.
Absolutely. And you, Wayne, how are the folks, how can we continue to help and support Opera Ebony? Because listen, when a year goes by and I haven't been to an Opera Ebony event here in New York, something's wrong, something's off.
Yes. It's amazing how every one of us here, we go through these, I don't know what you call them, stages or moments when you need certain things, and we all do. because there's no way to go further with any of us unless we bring the folks with the support of all kinds with us to help us.
Absolutely.
And that's right now. As I'm listening, I'm saying amen over here because I really mean that. And it's making me, when you all are speaking, and then I'm saying that we all, in our own way, have our own journey and mission, but it's all united. It's really one thing, but it's different because the people of the community and oh yeah, I she's not with us any longer, but she was a member of the I think it was the what's the church up in Harlem that's doing not Abyssinia, what's the other big one? The other one. But anyway, Constance Bergsteiner, Constance must have died in her 90s. And she sat on the couch in my living room. They had a big, she told somebody, nobody can sell tickets like Constance Bergsteiner, nobody. And she get on the phone and she'll hundreds of, we have to get in our own different ways, we get that kind of energy and support going. And she sat on that couch. She must have been about 95 then. And she started singing Think on Me. She started singing, and she was hunched over in the couch. I forget how does that melody start? But anyway, she started singing. And then I think her legs and stuff were gone. When she got to the end, think, she raised out of that seat and let forth with this sound and stuff. We all had to leave the room because I couldn't. It's the spirit of what we all are talking about. The support and the help. And there's help of all kinds of things that we all need. And what's exciting to me to see that we can do that in our different ways and ventures going after. There's hundreds, thousands of people. And as you were saying, Denyce, as you knock on the door and say, this is what yes. And all of us are knocking on doors in different ways, but similar ways, but different ways. And it just excites me to be a part of this, Kenny, to hear and to connect to each other this way. It is so vital because it's needed.
Yes.
That's what will save. That will save Dawson's home. That will save, because that home needs to be saved. That's what started all of us. We might not have known it was that.
Yes.
But the what she was doing and what she was sweating and the people, yes. And when my time comes, when the wheel rolls, the ball rolls. But we all are out here doing, sharing, and that's what excites me, to see us share and give to each other. And it's incredible the things that can happen, that are happening, and that will happen from this, from us coming together and sharing. We can just keep on sharing until we can't share no more, whatever that is.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I am so grateful to all of you for being here and spending this time and getting this word out, the message out about all of your organizations, but also about the necessity of community involvement.
Amen. Yes.
The necessity of also having the pride to say, hey, I helped make that a reality.
Right on.
In whatever way that you can. The stimulus checks is coming out. Shave a couple dollars off and give it to the
Right.
Dawson house. Come on now. Slice some of that stimulus off and put it into the Dawson house. So we all can do our part. And that is why I wanted to have this panel with all of you incredible visionaries. And so I want to go around the room and ask everybody if you want to leave us with something, a final word about what you're doing, what you're hoping for. And it can be about your company, your organization, or your project, or whatever you would like it to be. So let's start with Jonnet. So I'm so impressed by you because, okay, there are a lot of people in the chat talking about, wait, she bought that house 20 years ago. Was she 10 years old when she bought it? Like, you look so young to not only have bought the house, but to have the skill and the know-how and the desire to have this foresight to acquire such important property. So will you please share, because you have to be somebody special to do that. You must be someone special.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, and thank you for that. And I always say if I didn't own the house, I would look 10 years younger. So thanks for everyone who thinks I look young right now. I'm like, I'd look 10 years younger if I didn't own this opera house. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. I think I just want to leave everyone with, whatever you do, music, art, accounting, just find a cause. Find something that really lights your entire life on fire. I love my career. I am a musician. I love everything I do, but a lot of my life lessons and the real lessons that I will carry with me forever came from buying the house. And my inspiration, of course, comes from my parents, but I'm very inspired by people like Mary Caldwell Dawson, who was able to do things with way less than I ever had, with more obstacles, with more things to overcome, higher mountains to climb, less resources, and she did it. And so by picking up the cause of, like you said, carrying the baton, I'm just inspired to be able to even pick up the baton because what she carried was so heavy. So I just encourage everyone to find a cause, find something that just lights you on fire, that you can be a light in the world for yourself and someone else.
Fantastic. What about you, Jason?
Well, I could talk about the Ebony Opera Guild and the things that we are doing, but rather after this lovely conversation, I just want to wish for and pray for all of us, for the health of culture and music and the continuation of all things good in our community and so forth going forward. We've all lived through a traumatic time in 2020, and hopefully now things are on a better path, and that we would not only live through this, but thrive as we move through this. And I've been inspired by this conversation by Mr. Sanders, who I've not laid my eyes on in 30 years. You look so great. And to you, Kenny, for all the wonderful things that you're doing, not only as a musician, but what you're doing for music and for culture. And to you, Miss Jonnet, I've never met you before, but what you're doing is inspiring and wonderful. And of course, Ms. Graves, who I've been a big fan of for a very long time, to hear your passion for young people and young African-American singers and so forth. It's truly inspiring. You could be doing so many other things, and you are choosing to do this. And this conversation is inspiring me to leave this desk in my little den and go and do something great tonight rather than eating and going to bed. I'm going to go do something more important than that before I go to sleep. So thank you for including the Houston Ebony Opera Guild in this conversation. And I am inspired by each person on this call. And thank you so much.
Thanks for being with us, Jason. What about you, Mr. Sanders?
I actually am so inspired by all of us with our purposes and what we're doing, but it's really all one and the same thing. It's just different forms to it. Might not be putting it in the right words, but the help that we need, that the Dawson need, we all need it in many forms. But what keeps us going is the fact that we're daring to do it, to follow through, to knock on some doors, to knock on some windows, and to do. It excites me, as you can just. Sometimes I can't even get out the words right, because we're all on the same path, and when I see those concerts that we did in places in Poland and London and all that, and the response to these young artists we're talking about. They told me one time, I forgot what country it was even, because I run my mouth so much. But they told me, "Oh, they're not. No, they want gospel music." I said, "I love gospel music." I said, "But we do what we do, and our artists do what they do, a variety of things." And so we went. I didn't lie, but what I did, I did the music. I said, "Yeah, we'll come, and we're gonna do." I didn't lie and say we're going to do the gospel. I said we're going to do music. And when I took the piece that Lena McLean had done, I call it "Oh Freedom," and when it started off with that first call, "Oh Freedom," they hollered like you were at the Harlem Theater. They hollered out loud. I said, "Man, where?" I looked around. I said, "When it was dark, I couldn't see." I said, "Where are these people from?" What we're doing, the music breaks down these boundaries of you're only this, you're only that. It's the touching, going deep down in that soul. You studied, you got the voice, and go soft and loud, low and high, and get it out there. And the world is ready for it. As I'm just sitting here seeing this incredible panel and seeing you, we just need to continue to do it, continue to knock on the doors. And when our founder, Benjamin Matthews, has passed away now, but we're keeping his contest going, the Benjamin Matthews contest. And the singers came from all over the place, not only Black. And the first time it happened, I said, wait, because we didn't say we're doing this, we're doing that, yes. But they came because they wanted, how can I put that? All colors from all different places. And it spurs on the fact, the need that we all have, and that we're doing, and that we're following through. And it's almost sounds like one big, what do you call, I'm making that thing, yes, that has many facts and things within this circle that you've made, you know?
Yeah.
It inspires me. It inspires me because it is something that's needed, something that needs to be done now. As somebody once told me before, and a friend said, "What are they talking about?" They called and said, "When you leave here, when you leave, you're no longer on this planet. Will there be an Opera Ebony?" And it stopped me, because I thought they were getting all, it stopped me. And we all are talking about continuation, follow through going. And we all have to find ways to knock on those doors. And this way, we help not only ourselves, we help others too, because we're all we're out here on the same path. Yes. In a wonderful way. And what is this year, 2021?
I think so.
Yeah. We're doing it, and it excites me to see it, to hear it. And we all have our needs and stuff, but the needs are very, very similar, if I'm making any sense.
Yes,
we can support and help like we're doing. We help each other. We go and all kinds of, in many, many, many ways.
Yes.
And so, I'm just excited to be a part and to hear you all, Jonnet and Jason and Denyce, and so yeah, we're out here working as if I took my hand and I put it together and said, yeah, it's all one, and we can help. We can help each other and help ourselves at the same time.
I love it. Denyce, you want to close us out, my dear?
Well, I just want to thank you again, Kenny, for doing this. for creating this panel this evening, for all of the listeners who are out there, for the wonderful comments that have been coming in, for all of the support that's on the other side of the screen. Thank each and every one of you. Mr. Jason, it is a pleasure to meet you. Mr. Wayne, thank you so much. You have been pioneers and trailblazers on your own. You've been out there in front the whole time. I want to thank Jonnet for hearing the call and for just letting God use her. I want to thank everybody who's on the Denyce Graves Foundation, because they have been working tirelessly and been doing a whole lot of volunteer work. You know, Ronald Smith, Anna Serrano, Justin Bell, Simone Harcum, Simone Brown, Tammy Lee, you know, Isabel, all the people who have been working so hard with us over these past few weeks. I want to thank them. There was a quote that Mary Caldwell Dawson used to say that I use sometimes often, and she says that if you have a purpose in which you can believe, then there is no end to the amount of things that you can accomplish.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. And I hope that those lines are in the piece that you're doing about Mary Caldwell Dawson. Aren't you doing something at Glimmerglass this summer? Tell us.
Isn't it crazy? I started out saying it, but then I didn't finish it. So Francesca said to me when she did the cooking show, she said, there's something I'd like to do. I'd like to do an opera about Mary Caldwell Dawson. Do you know who she is? I said, no, I don't know. And then months later, I hear about the Opera House, and I said, wait a minute. I think that's who Francesca was talking about. Just synergy and just God. Had no idea, completely unrelated. And so, yes, they are writing the passion of Mary Caldwell Dawson. Carlos Simon is the composer. Sandra Seaton is the librettist. It's going to be done at Glimmerglass with Francesca. It's going to be at Opera Theater St. Louis. It's going to be at Kennedy Center, Pittsburgh. Lots of different places are interested now in doing her story. And perhaps we can even do the Passion of Mary Caldwell Dawson in her home, in the Opera House.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? So I got to get to Glimmerglass this summer, so I'm going to look out for that. Everybody, first of all, next week, same time, same place, my last guest to celebrate Women's History Month will be my dear, dear, dear friend, the fabulous soprano, Miss Angela Brown. And we're going to talk about all the things that she's doing. She's got so many projects going, it makes me exhausted. She's got her own fashion line that's named after her mother. She's got her Morning Brown production company. She's got Opera from a Sister's Point of View. She's got this Melanated Moments radio show. Like, she's just doing the most. So we're going to catch up with Angela next Monday at 7 p.m. So please come back and join us. But in the meantime, you all can go to the nationaloperahouse.org website and click on that donate button and do what you can and support and email the Denyce Graves Foundation and see how you can get your hands dirty in helping to rebuild this house. And so I want to thank all of my guests, Jason Oby, Wayne Sanders, Jonnet Soloman, and my dear new best good girlfriend, Denyce Graves, who texts me and calls me at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're both still up working. I love it. I love it. Thank you all so very much. Wear your masks. Please get vaccinated. Let's heal this country and get back to the business of doing. I love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other, and have a great, great night. Bye.
Bye.